What do you regret finding out? My mum was 14 when she met my dad. He was 24. My mom is 56. I'm 28. And her husband is a 37-year-old guy that dated me when I was 14 and he was 23. He was the pastor's son, so my parents, despite being super strict, would let me go hang out with the guy, and I thought he was so cool because he was older, had a car and all that. Looking back, I've always realized how creepy he was. When my mom told me they were dating, I begged her not to. Told her about how we had messed around, etc. a long time ago. Then she decided to go and marry the Unethical. I didn't go to the wedding, but me and my mom are on good terms now. The worst part is that my 2 kids love him and call him poor and has barely older than me or my husband. I wish every day they would get a divorce. I don't even know what to say. My mother died in a car accident when I was 3. I found out from a newspaper article years later that it was her fault. She wasn't paying attention and crossed the yellow line and ended both her life and that of the person in the other car. Same happened to me, although it wasn't my mom. It was my grandpa. He died in 1955 and neither my dad or I ever knew the circumstances. Found out from old newspaper articles that he was drinking and driving. Although it wasn't illegal then or looked down upon as much. I hate this feeling of disappointment and I wish my dad hasn't found out either. That my best friend took her own life. She told me she was moving and gave me all her stuff because she said she had a furnished room where she was going. I hadn't heard from her in a while and she never answered my texts, so I looked up her name to see if she had an accident. Nope. It was suicide. The kicker is she had talked me out of it back in 2014 and I wasn't able to be there for her. Ita, thank you all so much for your kind words. They mean more than you know. I love all of you. Ita, I'm doing better after reading all your kind words and messages. I wish I could reply to each one personally. Thank you again for your kindness. You cannot blame yourself because it seems that she knew how to keep her plans secret. You can live your life to the fullest and remember her and your good times. She is with you. Look for the little signs. She will be happy to see you smile. Thank you so much for this. That my mother knew she had cancer a year before she told anyone or other. A year before she was diagnosed, after I literally forced her to see a doctor for her then extremely distended stomach. I was under the impression that we told each other absolutely everything because up until that point, we did. I found out the truth a month after she died when I'd requested all of her cancer-related paperwork from her oncologist. My mother found out she had a lung disease, not cancer, an autoimmune thing, and she had about 7 years to live. She just all of a sudden quit smoking. It wasn't caused by smoking, but quitting would extend her life. Several years later she just said, oh, I have this lung issue, but they don't really know what it comes from. She was very elusive because I'm a nurse and she didn't want me to research her disease and find out she was dying. The last year of her life she was on oxygen. I knew she was sick, but not that she was dying. Nobody did. I knew the time was near, but I thought I had a few more years. She ended up in the hospital, got pneumonia and died a few days later with me at her side. She knew I would be an absolute wreck if I knew for all those years, so she tried to protect me from that. As I sat at her beside when she was really sick, I knew she was worried about me. She was dying and worried about me. I told her through tears that it was okay to die. I could not get the words out completely. I just said, you are really suffering, aren't you? And she nodded yes. I said, it's okay. I will be okay. It's okay to. It's okay. It'll be fine. It's okay to. I couldn't even say it, but she knew what I was saying. She just nodded yes. I don't know if I wish I knew or not. Edit. Thanks, dear Reddit community. Kind words and stories are so very heartwarming and comforting. 3. I'm sorry for your loss. That's such a hard one. I mean, obviously anything terminal is hard, but a diagnosis of 7 years like that really brings up the question of whether you tell them. I, like you two it seems, would have had a meltdown every Christmas, every birthday. I can understand why she didn't say it. That my younger sister has a high rank in a local BDSM club. What does a rank in a BDSM club mean? I knew they had belts, but I didn't know there were colors other than black. I should have used a different word in my original post, but she's like the VP or similar. Didn't need to know more than that tbh. About that duckfish in the Amazons. If it makes you feel better, there are no confirmed cases of it swimming into anyone's duck. That does make me feel better. Thank you. My dad informed me when I got back from Iraq that I was the reason he and my mother got a divorce. I never really wanted to join the military anyways, and it ducked me up big time. They had financial troubles and my mom sent me care packages quite a lot. Apparently, that put them into bankruptcy, and if I hadn't joined it wouldn't have happened. I just wanted to get out of that house because it was like I didn't exist. Edit. I've never received this much support regarding this issue. Thank you. For the first time I think I really believed it when I told myself it wasn't my fault. I'm smiling so hard through the tears. Seriously, thank you. Edit. Thanks for the award. I've read every comment, even though I didn't reply to all. I'm so seriously happy right now, and I don't feel like I deserve to be at all, but hell, I'll take it. Jesus Christ, what was she putting in them to make them cost so much? Cigarettes, socks, dip, really nothing major. We were a poor family and already deep in debt apparently. Mom telling me on regular basis when depressed that she wishes she would fall asleep and never wake up. Don't tell a 6-year-old this. Damn. Felt this one. My mom used to do the same thing when I was a child. I'm 22 now, and she still likes to hit me with those statements. I can't imagine ever telling a kid something this morbid. Ducked up. Same. The other day she texted me saying, oh, I'm no longer getting kicked out of the apartment. Good thing too. If it hadn't been fixed I would have killed myself on Friday. This is the straw that broke my back. I'm not talking to her anymore. My ex is with a guy who is where I wanted to be in life 5 years ago. Delete Facebook dude. Dude. My ex became the guy who is where I wanted to be in life 5 years ago, even in the same field I was studying to get into, and at this point in time he's doing really well for himself, and I'm still struggling to finish college. But TBH, I don't mind anymore. We ended things amicably, and we are still friends, and I'm just glad he's doing well for himself cause he's a great guy. I didn't meet my dad until I was 15. It was in secret, since my mother wanted nothing to do with him. Within the first 3 sentences exchanged, he felt the need to tell me that I was conceived on a beach in July during the last time they had sex. I was the product of going away duck in a relationship, doomed before my conception. He followed it up with, we were good at 2 things. Me and your mom. Fighting and ducking. Unfortunately we were fighting more than we were ducking, so it stopped being worth it. 10 years later and this is still how I get my family history. Is your father a Dornishman? Immigrate baby. Ditto. It doesn't subtract from your worth. Roses grow in manure and all that. Have a family member the same. Diminishes no part of them in anyone's eyes. They were no part of that event whatsoever. That my grandmother's fianc is a convicted pedophile. She doesn't care and has moved in with him. He was a teacher at a middle school and sexually abused and violently but altered 3 handicapped children. When I was about 14 my mom took me to a tattoo shop to get her nipples pierced. While the procedure was happening, she turned to me and said, your dad bites harder than that. I could have lived without that info. What kind of person takes their kid to their nipple piercing? The kind who tells their kid that afterwards. That my father cheated on my mother on a regular basis. I discovered he even went in an orgy while with my mom, which is not a cool thing to learn when you're 15 and don't know if your mother knows or not. Finding out my father figure, mom's BF, is sexually attracted to me, even more so since I gave birth. Yikes. That my ex-wife ducked my best friend just after we separated and while I was drowned in depression. After my ex and I broke up, about 3 of his friends propositioned me. Brothers ain't loyal. had this happen, but she slept with one of my friends. Several years down the line has still hung up on her, but it's not going anywhere, and I end up ducking her. He then comes at me asking me how I could do such a thing. She's the love of my life. Taste of your own medicine, bro. My brother's girlfriend's NSFW Reddit account. It's supposed to be a couple's account, so you might guess the horrors I saw in there. I regret just finding out that my brother found out about my girlfriend's NSFW account. Nice try. Almost gave me a heart attack. So top marks anyway. That I'm possibly inbred. My dad had a kid with his first cousin and the kid had Down syndrome and a hole in his heart, sweet as can be, and really good at video games. Apparently that was a little common on my dad's side, so it's possible I'm slightly inbred. That my former best friend was really only friends with me because I drove his drunk butt around, and because he wanted to get in my pants. Also had a former best friend only be interested in me because he wanted sex. I was not confident and didn't feel that anyone would love me at 17 over 18. That I put myself into situations where he touched me while I was asleep. Took me until I was 23 from a friend that I was sexually butt-altered, and I finally told my mom. The good news? They're former and should always stay that way, and you have a learning experience to help you in the future. Even if you make mistakes, it's never okay to be used by anyone. Keep your head up and keep looking forward. About my mom ducking my cousin. Woke up in the middle of the night hearing her say his name. Ugh. Haunting. Editing to @grandpa's brother's son. After we broke up, I found out my ex had been online looking for a sugar daddy only 3 months into our 12-month relationship. I thought the whole time she was genuine. Turns out most of the time she was lying to my face. She broke up with me and started ducking her sugar daddy she had found 2 months before she dumped me. I'm so sorry. I feel this. I just broke up with my ex of 3 years. 2 years into the relationship I found out has cheated on me with multiple girls since 6 months into dating me. Learning from my sister that my father told her that my mom's mom was not paralyzed from the waist down because she fell off a fence. It is that she was beaten so badly by the man she was seeing at the time. Shut. There are some nasty pieces of shut in this world. That my mother doesn't actually care for me, but uses me as material to show off how much of a good mother she is, and denies it by buttering me up to be more grateful about my life. Really hurt. That I'm not very smart. I'm not dumb or dim. But I've really had to come to terms with the fact that not only am I not the smartest man in the room, I'm probably damn near the stupidest. Just how close my pilonidal cyst, a hole that forms where your tail was as a fetus, was to making contact with my spine. I had her open wound for a year because the first surgeon was a ducking joke and it ripped immediately, and he told me to take sit baths to help it close up naturally. By the time 11 months later I got the second surgery, it was apparently only millimeters from tunneling to my spine, which could have caused me infection or death. I wish I never knew how close it was. BC, I'm terrified it's still tunneling on the inside, even though completely closed now on the outside. Pilonidal cysts are way more painful than anyone who hasn't had them could understand. Sorry you're going through this, and they didn't get it right the first time. I always blamed my best friend's erratic behavior on mental health issues until one day I found her butted out on my toilet and realized that her behavior always got erratic after bathroom visits. Unfortunately, she may have mental health issues, but an addiction to certain drugs was the reason for most of her behavior. What my sister and her boyfriend were doing in the bubble bath. I bet those sick ducks were holding hands. You know who has hands? The devil. And he uses them for holding. What tinnitus is? Now I can't stop hearing it. I've heard the ringing for so long that I just buttomed everyone heard it. When I finally went to the vet and they put the headphones on me for the audiology exam, I couldn't believe how deafening the ringing really was in the silence. After I talked with them and found out that it wasn't normal, I was shocked. It seems to get worse when I'm really stressed out. but I don't know if it really is or if it's just my imagination. Edit. Thank you everyone for all of your suggestions and support. Y'all are great. Not sure if you already knew this, but white noise, even softly, can cancel out tinnitus. The details of my parents' divorce. Thanks mum. Same boat. My mother used to rant all day about how awful my father was. Everything she told me was a lie. The real reason why half of my dad's side of the family doesn't speak to us, my twin and I, were always told it was that they just weren't that close and also had some mental health issues, but we learned after my dad died the truth, because no one on his side of the family came to the funeral. They opted to have their own. Turns out that my parents had trouble conceiving. This I knew. I also know me and my twin are IVF babies and we were born very premature. I'm talking 1 pound baby premature. Shortly after, my mom developed breast cancer. What I didn't know was that during this time my dad was also taking care of his sick mother, my paternal grandmother, as well as looking after his sick wife and 2 newborn preemies. He ended up asking his brother to help look after their mother, since he'd been the one doing it, so he could care for his family more. Well, soon after my dad spent more time with us vs his mom. She took a turn for the worse and died. And my father's brother blamed him for abandoning the family and blamed my twin and I for the death of our grandmother. Because if we weren't born my mother wouldn't have gotten estrogen positive breast cancer, and also they were all very Catholic and IVF was a sin. I never met my grandmother. I'm named for her. But apparently an entire side of the family thinks it's mine and my sister's fault she's dead. Edit. Okay, I know this is a real cliche thing to do / say, but I did not expect so many replies and support and discussion about Warzone, and also I've never gotten a platinum before, so thank you. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you want more videos don't forget to like and subscribe, you are helping me a lot. Thanks again.